What is going on, Nerd Paraders? Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for coming to hang here with me today as we play some Valheim in the new Hearth and Home update. We're going to talk about a lot of things that'll really help you in your own playthrough. If you've been keeping up with all things nerd, you'll notice that we've been streaming a ton on twitch.tv/nerdparade with the Hearth and Home update, and we've been building a lot of cool structures. Things that you may know Nerd Parade for, building some really cool stuff. Well, I've noticed that I've gotten a lot of questions about how we're able to build some of the things that we are. So I'm going to go over some of the most essential tips and tricks that you could possibly need in this video here today. I am Nick, this is Nerd Parade. Now let's kick it off, shall we? I built some stuff in front of us here in our little meadowy area, and we're going to talk about structural integrity first. Structural integrity is one of the most basic things to building, but it's not as straightforward as it seems. So there's a couple of different things in play that we have here, and we're going to talk about our base. Base being foundation. Foundation being ground, or we have foundation off of wood or foundation off of stone. These are our starting points. So you would think that the new structure is this like kind of banded wood here. It's really, really cool. You would think that the advancement would, kind of the banded wood, which is technically called dark wood, and then core wood, and then iron. You would think this is a pretty straightforward kind of progression to your system, and for the most part it is. However, it gets a little bit more complicated, and that's why we built this so I could show it off. So we're in fly mode here, so I can go all the way up to show you. Wood, regular wood poles and dark wood are equivalent. They are the same. Even though this is a new piece for Hearth and Home, it is the equivalent to regular wood poles, meaning that our core wood is actually better. It has more structural integrity. It can go higher. And then the King of Kings, the iron poles that allow you to go up as high as possible. But not all things are created equal. Look, we're so high we got snow on top. Let's go back down. Not all things are created equal. So as we zoom back down here to the bottom and not die to fall damage, you'll notice, if you're paying attention, that these guys are smaller. And what I've done here, and I'll show it off so that I can explain it a little bit more, we're going to build one more thing on top of here and just show you that it cannot be done. Can't be done. It's at its maximum. We've gone to the absolute highest point possible. So we're going to talk about our bases. This is a wood base. We have a wood half wall right here as our base, and we've decided to build off of this. Now, this is very common when it comes to building. Not everybody always decides to build right off the ground when it comes to building your first base with your kind of like poles for structural integrity. However, if you choose to do so, it is probably the possible best platform you can use if you're using wood iron poles. There's other ways to kind of game it. We're going to show it off here really quickly. But using a base, you could go higher than you might necessarily think. So talking about bases, the highest you could possibly go with using a wood base, if you want to use a wood base for the structure that you're building, don't go with wood, because this is where you max out at. Even with wood iron poles, you're going to max out right here. And if we build one more on there, I'll show you that it's just going to crumble. So you have way more structural integrity. It's going to take a second. You have way more structural integrity. There it goes. If you just build straight up on the ground. Especially, we're leveling up our jump, especially with wood iron. So if you want the absolute biggest, tallest, most reinforced structure you could possibly think of, build out of wood iron. But if you're like me and you prefer aesthetic stuff and you want to make things look good over necessarily function, you're going to want to use things like core wood in some of my builds. Now, we'll show one off later on in the video of what I've been working on. But for the sake of giving you guys all the information that you need to help you build better, we're doing this little rundown. So if you want to go relatively high, don't build with a wood base. However, if you want the wood base for aesthetic reasons, just keep in mind that you're not going to be able to go too terribly tall. So when you build up, keep that in mind, that maybe about 3 core wood poles is the highest you should really go, because you'd have to worry about adding a ceiling on there so it doesn't take structural damage from the rain and the elements and so on. Now, wood iron, you lose a ton of its potential if you use the wrong base. In this instance, wood being the base. Now, if we come over here to stone, you get more. You get a lot more, but still not quite as much as building off of the ground itself. So you're going to want to use the ground itself if you're going wood iron. However, this is where things get more interesting. You can get just a slight bump, which is the height of the piece of stone that you use, on your wood poles and your dark wood poles if you choose to go that route. Now, on that same token, you can build to maximum height with stone. Now watch, we can't go any higher on this stone. No crumble. See, it crumbles instantly. And then go on top of it. So you could build like a fortification bottom and then continue to go up higher and higher if you use that base. Now again, we're going to cap out the quickest with dark wood and regular wood. And core is going to beat it ever so slightly. And then followed in by your wood iron poles. But again, if you choose to build on a foundation, such as wood or stone, you're really limiting the amount of potential you get out of your wood iron. We're going to place that on there just because it's going to crumble in a few seconds. But you'll notice that if I use one stone block, there it crumbles. If I use one stone block, I can go much higher than if I stack the stone blocks all the way up to build height when it comes to stone. So these are the things that you're necessarily going to want to avoid when you're trying to maximize your build with wood iron. But every structure is kind of created differently. Wood, dark wood, they're the weakest. Core allows even greater height depending on its stack. So if we have one foundation with core of the stone variety, we place that, we can't go any higher. But if we stack our stone foundations, we can gain some more height out of this core wood higher than we would with just one piece of stone. So if we come back down here, we check this out, and look, and if you want, you can even kind of build down. There's no reason why you can't build down to make it look all like nice and good for tower purposes. And so on and so forth. So you can like kind of build down with it and go all the way up, and you can really combine the two. But core wood is definitely your most versatile piece. It's going to give you the most. It's arguably the cheapest because you can get it in the forest area, and it totally destroys regular wood pole. Dark wood, arguably way too expensive for its utility because it requires tar now, which is a resource gotten in the plains, a very difficult area. But why doesn't it outbuild core wood? Mostly because it's for fluff, I think. It's an aesthetic piece. So it functions exactly the same way structurally as wood. So if you're wanting to build out of this, where there's nothing wrong with doing it, just keep that in mind that you can't go as high as you may want to. Now, if you just want to just say, screw it, I want the best possible, most structurally integral base that you'll ever see in your entire life, you clearly see your answer. So I have a bit of a bias. If you want to use your ironwood reinforcements, make sure you start on the ground using that as your base. Don't use anything below it. Or if you're like me and you like core wood building, make sure you use a piece of stone as your base to get that little bit of extra height instead of just on the ground. Or you could stack your stone pieces to go even higher based on the overall height that you're looking for in your base. Now, I've come over here to my Hearth and Home map, and this is one of the fortresses that we're working on, and it's currently under construction. As you can see, I've employed some of the tactics that I've talked about. I've got my piece of stone here on the ground to get that little bit of extra height, and then I core wooded it up for support. And I've built my base off of that core wood support, allowing me to do some really crazy stuff. That crazy stuff is having relatively open area to work with without a lot of support. Now, I did add these couple of supports here in the side, inside of the base, so that I could do some cool things with the ceiling, which I'm going to go up and show you here in just a moment. But this is a wood and core wood structure, with the base, the one base tile being stone to give me that little extra height of integrity on my fortress build. So I've got 3 full layers, 3 full floors, and a really, that's a cool fireplace in there. All this smoke escapes through the center. 3 cool floors of fortitude, fortressitude, all covered with a ceiling, so that none of it takes damage, or a roof tile technically, so none of it takes damage when it comes to weather. It doesn't take any weathering. And I've even got the smoke that goes all the way up to escape from the top. We're going to go on top and show you that just because it's a very cool integral part of it. But I got to do some really neat stuff and play around with a lot of the new stuff that comes in Hearth and Home, like the angled core wood blocks, to create a fully supported area in our fortress that we've been building all live on Twitch if you want to come build out with us. So let's go outside here, go all the way down in our fort, and we're going to go out to the edge in the back, which is going to allow me to jump on the roof, and I'll show you that. So I'm coming over to the roof. Let's see if we can make it one hop. Oh, we're the parkourist. Then we're going to come up through here, and all this is covered, all super nice. And here is my chimney, where I've got it kind of propped up, like it looks like it's been propped up so the smoke can escape all from the hearth all the way down at the bottom. I'm going to get smoked if I stay there. And these guys are all completely covered in a fortress-like build that I'm pretty proud of, and it's not going to take any weathering. The thing that bothers me is when my wood takes weathering damage. I don't like that it degrades. Some of it's okay if you're like building a pier, you could do it for aesthetic stuff, or a dock, you could like have that degradation of wood as like aesthetic stuff, but I don't like it in my fortresses. And I also did a couple of things like this, so when we connected the ceilings, this is just a freehand placed little fluff piece, to be honest with you. And this, since it's connected to the roof tiles, also takes no degradation, even though it's wood. It's the angled wood pieces, and it's technically looking like it's exposed. The fact that it's connected here to our ceiling tile prevents it from taking any degradation from the weather, which is really super awesome because I can have the freedom to do fun stuff like this. So if you like this build, please be sure to check out previous videos here right on this channel and in this very Valheim playlist. Come and hang with us on twitch.tv/nerdparade when we do live builds here in Valheim. But hopefully this video gave you the education that you need when it comes to building things that you want. And what I wanted in this instance was kind of a starter-esque base built into the meadows with utilizing wood, core wood, and some stone. I didn't want to go ham with the ironwood supports and ultimately let me build into the sky as high as possible. I want to do something kind of simple and also looking really badass. And I think I achieved that with the fort. Now, it's not anywhere near done yet. We're going to continue our build. I've got many more bells and whistles to add to this puppy. But I'm pretty happy with where it was, and it sparked this idea for the video because I got so many questions while we were building. It's like, how are you able to do this? How are you able to keep your ceilings up? And so on and so forth. So hopefully this video gave you some of the education you need when it comes to building in Valheim. If it did, you know what to do for me. Please tag the thumbs up button, comment below if it helped you, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and also make sure you're heading over to twitch.tv/nerdparade to drop a follow. If you really liking what we're doing here on the channel and channels, please be sure to check out patreon.com/nerdparade and support. But this is where I'm going to leave you guys. Thank you so much for coming to hang with me. Stay Viking, and we'll catch you in the next one. Later.